That's what we're talking about here. A man is looking for a reaction that transforms both people. Not just a transaction where one side is giving and the other is taking. He's checking to see if your presence makes his life richer even without the extras. And if his presence, stripped of the glitter, still feels worth your time. Some women hear all this and say, "Why do I have to prove myself? Shouldn't he be proving himself to me?" And you're right. Men should prove themselves too. But this isn't about one-sided tests. It's about a man protecting his heart and his future. We work hard for what we've built. We've been through battles you might not even know about. And we don't want to share that with someone who's only here for the smooth ride. We want someone who's ready for the bumps in the road, the storms that roll in uninvited. And these tests aren't always big, dramatic setups. Sometimes they're small, almost invisible. A man might notice if you ever offer to pay for a coffee or chip in for something. Not because he needs you to pay, but because he wants to see if you think about giving too, or if it's always about what you can get. He might notice if you answer his call on a random Tuesday when there's no big date planned, no surprise gift coming, just a conversation. He might notice if you can laugh and have fun, even when there's nothing fancy going on. No expensive scenery, no Instagram-worthy background. Because men know life changes, looks change, money comes and goes, circumstances shift. And early on we're asking, is she going to ride with me through all of it? Or is she only here for the highlight reel? Another Jung quote comes to mind. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That's what these early observations are about. A man wants to see who you truly are. Not just the polished version you present in the honeymoon phase. And to find that truth, sometimes he needs to see you when the lights are dim, the music's off and the mood isn't perfect. I'll give you an example. Maybe he picks a casual spot for dinner, instead of the high-end place you were expecting. He's not testing your taste in food. He's testing your attitude. If you roll your eyes, complain, or make him feel like he's less than because he didn't go big, you've told him everything he needs to know. But if you still enjoy yourself, still find reasons to laugh, still make the night memorable, that speaks volumes. Or maybe he tells you he's got to cancel plans because something important came up. If your first reaction is to get angry and accuse him of not caring, that's a red flag. But if you say, "No problem, we'll make it happen another time," that shows flexibility and trust. Men have learned that patience in a woman is a form of strength. The ability to stay steady when things don't go your way, that's not weakness, that's power. Because real life isn't just sunsets and slow songs. It's early mornings, late nights, unexpected bills, family drama, and moments where you feel like the world's closing in. And here's the truth. The man is thinking, if she loses it every time there's a bump in the road, how's she going to handle the storms that come with a real relationship? So yes, the tests are real. And yes, they matter. Because at the end of the day, a serious man isn't just looking for someone to share his success with. He's looking for someone who will still be there when the success is on pause. Jung also said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. For many men, these tests are unconscious at first. Habits born out of past hurt or wisdom, learned the hard way. But whether intentional or not, they reveal what matters most. Character over charm, depth over decoration, substance over surface. So ladies, if you ever wonder why a man sometimes holds back, why he doesn't roll out the red carpet on day one, remember, he might just be seeing if your interest is in him or in the carpet. When a man is serious about a woman, one of the first qualities he quietly checks for is patience. Not the passive, just sit and take anything kind of patience, but the powerful kind. The kind that says, I can keep my head when the heat is on. Because let's be honest, anybody can be sweet, loving and agreeable when life is easy. It's when life starts pressing you, when plans fall apart, when expectations aren't met. That's when the real you comes out. And that's exactly when a man is watching the closest. Sometimes the test isn't even intentional. Life just throws something in the way, and he pays attention to how you handle it. Maybe he's running late to pick you up. He's not doing it on purpose, but now there's a little friction in the air. Do you blow up his phone, accuse him of not caring, or give him the silent treatment? Or do you take a breath, roll with it, and let him explain when he gets there? That moment right there, that tiny, ordinary moment, can speak louder than any speech about loyalty or love. Why? Because men know life won't always stick to the plan. There will be times when he can't give you what he promised. Not because he's lazy, but because he's human, and he wants to know. When that happens, will she make it harder, or will she help me get through it? It's not about you ignoring your feelings. It's about how you handle them. Do your emotions control you, or do you control them? This is where emotional maturity becomes more attractive than any physical feature. Men deeply respect a woman who can express frustration without turning it into a personal attack. If you can say, "Hey, I was looking forward to tonight, but I understand things happen," instead of, "You never care about me," that's strength. That's a woman he can build with. Let's bring in a Carl Jung insight here. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Think about that in a relationship context. When something your man does irritates you, you have two choices. 1. React purely from the irritation, or 2. Pause and ask yourself what the reaction is showing you about yourself. That pause, that ability to self-check before you lash out, is what patience really looks like in action. It's not silence. It's self-mastery. Men test this not because they want a woman who's a pushover, but because they want a woman who can weather real storms. And storms will come. Job losses, family emergencies, unexpected bills, health scares. They don't knock before they enter. And here's something men don't always say out loud. When he's in the middle of his own storm, your reaction can make or break how he feels about the relationship. If in his hardest moments you bring calm, encouragement, and stability, he'll never forget it. But if you bring more chaos, more drama, more stress, it'll be hard for him to see a future in it. Let me give you an example. Say he's under pressure at work and he's not as talkative as usual. If your first instinct is to assume he's losing interest in you, you might start acting cold or distant in return. But if instead you say, "I know you've got a lot on your plate right now. I'm here if you need to talk," you've just sent him a completely different message. One that says, "I'm not just here for the good times. I'm here for the grind." Men don't just look at what you do when things go right. They study what you do when they don't. And sometimes the patience test shows up in conversations. He might bring up a topic he knows you don't fully agree with, just to see how you handle disagreement. Can you express your point without turning it into a war? Can you listen without rolling your eyes or raising your voice? The women who pass that test aren't the ones who always agree. They're the ones who can disagree without disrespect. Remember this: respect isn't proven when you're happy. It's proven when you're upset. If you can talk to a man with the same baseline of respect, whether you're laughing or frustrated, you've shown him something rare. You've shown him emotional discipline. And here's where some women misunderstand. Patience isn't about letting bad behavior slide or never speaking up. In fact, men respect women who can correct them, as long as it's done in a way that builds instead of breaks. If you can say, "Babe, I think you could have handled that differently," instead of, "You're always messing things up," you're showing him you're on his side even when you're challenging him. Men connect that kind of patience with trust. If he tells you he's got to work late, and you give him the space to do it without suspicion or drama, he sees you as a partner who believes in his word. That trust builds a deeper connection than any grand romantic gesture could. Sometimes a man will even create a little space just to see how you handle it. Not because he's playing games, but because he knows that relationships require breathing room. If you can handle that space without spiraling into insecurity, it shows you're not dependent on constant reassurance. And that's attractive. And here's the flip side. If you can't handle even a small gap without panic, jealousy, or resentment, it sends a signal that the relationship will always be a high-maintenance operation. And for a man who's building something in life, that's a red flag. Jung has another quote that fits perfectly here. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. When you look inside and build that inner strength, you stop reacting to every little external shift. You become the calm in the storm. And that's exactly what a serious man values. Because here's the reality. The honeymoon phase always fades. The butterflies are nice, but they can't pay bills, raise kids, or carry you through loss. At some point, real life steps in and asks, can you stay steady? Can you still be a teammate when the scoreboard isn't in your favor? Men aren't just testing for fun. They're looking for an answer to that question. If you can show patience in small inconveniences, you've already told him something about how you'll handle the big ones. If you can talk through a misunderstanding without tearing each other down, you've shown him the relationship can survive the inevitable disagreements. If you can trust him enough to give him space when he needs it, you've proven you're building something with a foundation, not just a facade. So ladies, understand this. Patience isn't passive. It's one of the strongest forms of power you can bring into a relationship. It tells a man, I'm not here to add to your chaos. I'm here to help you find your peace. And for a man who's thinking about a lifetime, that's not just attractive, that's essential. If patience is the calm in the storm, loyalty is the anchor in the tide. Men know the waters of life rise and fall. Some days you're standing on solid ground, and some days you're fighting just to keep your head above water. And for a man who's serious about building something real, loyalty isn't just a nice to have, it's the lifeline. Here's the thing. Loyalty isn't proven when everything is comfortable. Anybody can hold your hand when the bills are paid. The future looks bright, and you've got a table full of blessings. The real proof shows up when things get messy, inconvenient, and unglamorous. A man who's been around long enough knows that life will throw curveballs. There will be job losses. There will be health scares. There will be moments when the energy isn't high, when there's nothing to show off to the outside world. And in those moments, he's watching closely, not to catch you slipping, but to see if you're built for the valley as much as the mountaintop. Sometimes he'll even share a struggle with you, not because he needs you to solve it, but because he wants to see how you respond. If he tells you, I'm going through a rough patch right now, and you roll your eyes, pull back, or act disappointed, he learns something about where your loyalty really stands. But if you respond with, I'm with you, we'll figure it out. Even when you don't have all the answers, that speaks volumes. Men remember those moments. In fact, they remember them more than the good times. Because when the dust settles and he's standing tall again, he's going to look back and see exactly who stood beside him when there was no spotlight, no crowd, no applause. And loyalty isn't just about staying when things are hard. It's also about how you represent him when he's not in the room. Life has a way of revealing those conversations. Maybe someone throws dirt on his name, questions his decisions, or tries to plant seeds of doubt. Do you defend him, or do you let the disrespect slide? A man who hears that you protected his name when he wasn't there will never forget it, because that tells him your loyalty isn't just performative, it's rooted in respect. And loyalty doesn't mean blind agreement. A loyal woman can tell her man when he's wrong. In fact, men respect that. But the way you deliver it matters. If you can call him out without tearing him down, correct him without humiliating him, you've just shown him you're in it for his growth, not his destruction. This is why men pay attention to tone, timing, and intent. Are you speaking from a place of love, or are you speaking from frustration just to get the upper hand in an argument? One builds trust, the other slowly eats it away. Let's talk about another subtle loyalty test. How you react when someone else shows interest in you. Even if you're not tempted, the way you handle it says a lot. Do you flirt back just for attention? Or do you shut it down without hesitation? A man doesn't need you to be cold to the world, but he does want to know your commitment holds steady, especially when his own life is in a tougher season. Because here's the truth. If loyalty only exists when it's easy, it's not loyalty. That's convenience. I've seen men with wealth, status, and charm attract attention all day long. But when those things fade, even temporarily, the crowd thins fast. The woman who's still standing there when the smoke clears? She's in a category of her own. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Loyalty is that transformation. It changes both people, because it creates a trust so deep that even storms can't wash it away. Here's an example. Imagine a man loses his job, not because he's lazy, not because he's careless, but because the company downsizes. His pride takes a hit. He's stressed about the bills. He's trying to figure out his next move. During that time, you have a choice. You can start pointing out what other men you know are doing better, comparing him to your friends' partners, and pressuring him to fix everything instantly. Or you can back him with encouragement, let him know you believe in him, and keep showing him respect even when the world's not. You'd be surprised how much faster a man will bounce back when he feels supported instead of shamed. And here's something else. Loyalty often shows up in the quiet, boring moments. When he's too tired to go out, but you stay in and make it a good night anyway. When his energy's low, but you bring him a coffee without him asking. When you could complain about what's missing, but instead you focus on what's still there. Men notice all of that. Another subtle form of loyalty? Protecting his peace. You're not entertaining gossip about him. You're not putting private arguments on social media. You're not using his weaknesses as ammo in the next fight. That tells him you're not just loyal in presence, you're loyal in principle. And let me be clear. Loyalty is a two-way street. A good man will give you the same in return. But we're talking here about how men measure it in the women they choose. Because once a man sees proof that you can ride with him in the valley, you've passed one of the hardest tests he has. It's not always about dramatic sacrifices. Most of the time it's about consistency. Do you still speak to him with respect when the mood isn't sweet? Do you still believe in him when others doubt? Do you still choose us when me would be easier? These are the questions men ask quietly in their minds. They don't always say them out loud, but they answer them based on your actions. Because here's the truth. Men remember the valleys more than the peaks. And when he's deciding who to share his future with, the faces he remembers from the valley will be the ones he honors at the mountaintop. A man who's serious about his life, his goals, and his relationships will never underestimate the value of respect and appreciation. They're not just nice qualities to him. They're non-negotiables. See, here's what a lot of people don't realize. For men, respect and appreciation are fuel. They're the reason he keeps showing up, keeps trying, keeps giving. Without them, even the best intentions eventually run out of gas. And it's not just about the big gestures. Sure, a man might remember the way you celebrated, when he got that promotion or closed that deal. But the moments that hit deeper, they're usually smaller, quieter, and easier to overlook. Maybe it's the way you light up when he does something simple, like fixing that cabinet door that's been hanging loose, picking you up in the rain, or grabbing your favorite snack on the way home without you asking. To you, those might be small things. To him, they're tests. Not tests in the sense of, I'm trying to trap her, but tests in the sense of, I want to see if she notices that I'm showing up for her in ways that aren't flashy. Because here's the truth. If the only time you express appreciation is when he does something big, he starts to wonder if that's the only reason you value him. Men are wired to want to provide, not just financially, but emotionally, physically, and in acts of service. But when effort goes unnoticed, something shifts. He starts asking himself, why am I doing all this if it doesn't even matter to her? That's the seed of withdrawal. So yes, he's watching. He's watching how you react when he tries, even if it's not perfect. Maybe he attempts to cook you dinner and it comes out a little too salty. If you laugh with him, thank him, and appreciate the effort, he feels encouraged to keep trying. But if you pick apart what went wrong without acknowledging the thought behind it, you've just told him that intention doesn't matter. Only flawless execution does. And here's where respect comes in. Respect to a man is the foundation you build everything else on. Without it, the relationship might still stand for a while, but it will be unstable. One good storm and it crumbles. Respect is in your tone when you talk to him. It's in how you speak about him when he's not there. It's in whether you support him publicly and address disagreements privately, or if you criticize him in front of others. Men don't forget the moments you made them feel small. They also don't forget the moments you made them feel 10 feet tall. One of the quiet ways men test respect is by observing how you handle frustration. Anyone can be kind when they're happy, but when you're upset, do you attack his character, call him names, throw past mistakes in his face? Or do you still talk to him like you're on the same team, even while you disagree? That right there is a defining difference between a relationship that deepens and one that slowly erodes. Carl Jung said, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another." There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. Respect works the same way. Every man has different sensitivities, different triggers, and different values. And a woman who's genuinely tuned into his will stand out. That doesn't mean walking on eggshells. It means understanding what dignity looks like to the man you're with, and choosing not to step on it. Here's another piece that often goes unnoticed. Public respect. A man pays attention to whether you stand beside him when eyes are on you both. Even if you disagree in private, do you hold the line in public? Or do you undermine him in front of others? Public disrespect is like a crack in the foundation. It might look small at first, but over time it can bring the whole structure down. Appreciation has its own quiet tests. He might notice if you acknowledge his time as much as his gifts. If he's tired after a long day but still calls to check on you, that's effort. If he moves things around in his schedule to be there when you need him, that's sacrifice. And when you recognize it, he feels seen. If you ignore it, or worse, act like it was nothing, he'll start wondering if you even value what he brings. Men also notice if you appreciate their intentions. Maybe the date he planned didn't go perfectly. Maybe the surprise didn't turn out Instagram-worthy. But if you can still say, "I love that you thought of me," he feels safe to keep putting effort in. If you only point out what went wrong, you train him to stop trying altogether. The woman who passes this test isn't the one who demands the most. She's the one who appreciates the most. And for a man who's ready to give, appreciation is a magnet. Because here's the truth. Men aren't always vocal about needing thanks. Many won't say, "I need you to appreciate me," but they'll feel the absence of it. And that absence becomes distance. So, the respect and appreciation test is constant, even if unspoken. Do you talk to him with respect when you're frustrated? Do you acknowledge the small efforts as much as the big ones? Do you stand beside him in public, even if you've got a disagreement, waiting in private? Do you value his intention even if the execution isn't perfect? Past those, and you're showing a man that his efforts aren't wasted, that he's not pouring into someone who's gonna take without giving back. Fail them consistently, and you'll see him slowly retreat, not because he stopped caring, but because he stopped feeling valued. Respect says, "I see your worth." Appreciation says, "I value your effort." A serious man needs both before he'll even consider building a lifetime with someone. When you boil it down, every serious relationship is about value exchange. Not in a transactional, "what do I get" way, but in a real, profound sense of giving and receiving that makes both people better, stronger and happier. Men, especially those who are clear about what they want in life and love, run this test quietly but consistently. They ask themselves, does she add value to my life? Does she make me feel like a better man? Does she inspire me, challenge me, and support my growth? Or does she drain me, criticize me, or hold me back? Because here's the reality. No man wants to be with someone who only takes, whether that's energy, time, respect, or love, without giving something equally meaningful back. What does adding value look like? It's different for every man, but common themes include emotional strength. She's steady in storms, not a source of chaos. Intellectual engagement. She stimulates his mind, challenges his ideas with curiosity, not criticism. Shared vision. She aligns with his goals and values and supports his mission. Joy and peace. She brings lightness and laughter, not constant drama. Mutual growth. She pushes herself to grow and encourages him to do the same. This test is often subconscious. He might not say it aloud, but it drives how deeply he invests. If a woman adds genuine value, He feels energized, motivated, and proud to be with her. He wants to protect that relationship fiercely. If he feels drained or diminished, he starts to pull away. Not always dramatically, but in small ways that add up. How to pass this test consistently. 1. Know your worth. Understand what unique strengths, talents, and qualities you bring to the table. Own them unapologetically. 2. Invest in your own growth. A woman who's constantly improving herself, emotionally and intellectually, naturally adds value to any relationship. 3. Communicate openly and honestly. Share your thoughts, dreams, and feelings. Vulnerability creates deeper connection. 4. Support his goals and dreams, not just with words, but with actions. Show up for him when it counts. 5. Create joy and stability. Be the calm in the storm, and the spark in the routine. The bottom line, a man won't commit to someone who doesn't add value. It's not about perfection. It's about authenticity and mutual respect. He's not testing to win or beat you. He's testing to see if you're the partner who makes his life better in every dimension. If you pass this, you're not just in a relationship. You're building a life together. If you're ready to unlock deeper connection, understand what really drives commitment, and transform your relationships for the better, hit that subscribe button now. Join our community and get fresh insights, tips, and real talk delivered straight to your inbox or feed every week. Don't miss out on the key to building lasting love. Subscribe today and start your journey.